Warriors Celtics finals. They're 1-1 against each other this year. Neither of those games, the Warriors have been healthy. Now, you, Riv, all year long, you've been on the Warriors. You said that they would dog walk the Western Conference. They sort of did it, Basically, they sort of did it. I will say.
One game they didn't, and that's it.
But based on your reaction and the energy you're giving off, you're not scared one bit of the Boston Celtics.
Nah.
Yeah, okay, smart.
What do you mean smart?
You're saying nah, I'm not saying that.
I'm not scared.
Oh, you're not scared.
Nah, why would a team that's won 3 championships, a team that's been through the ups and downs, why would they be scared of a team with no experience? They have no finals experience. First of all, congratulations to make the finals. 6 trips in 8 years. Incredible. Steph Curry, WCF champ, the first ever. Glad that he got it. I'm going to use that in future arguments. It's just the FYI there. So shout out to Steph for that. I think at this point, playing the Boston Celtics, this is the matchup everybody wanted to see. Shout out to Miami. They had a great season, but I think this is the matchup that everybody wants to see. The best defense in the league against one of the most complicated offenses in the league. This is a system that's very difficult for players to guard, very difficult for players to play in. And I think like the Warriors, we could say Boston's never played a team like this, but Warriors can say they've never played a defense like this either in this run. So I think it's a tale of two different things. It's going to be interesting. But I got the Warriors. I got to stay on that boat. I've been saying the Warriors are going to win the chip all year. I just feel like the Warriors are peaking at the right time. Kevon Looney has been amazing. Andrew Wiggins has been amazing. Otto Porter and Gary Payton will be back in the finals. Klay is finding his shot. Jordan Poole already had his shot. Steph is finding his shot. He's been more efficient, especially in the WCF. So I think at this point, with the Warriors peaking at the right time against a defense like this, they're going to need all players. And this is a defense. This is an offense that doesn't predicate on ISO offense like the Nets. It's a lot of ball movement, a lot of ball screening, a lot of action, a lot of read and react. And it's going to be a lot of picking on their players. Al Horford's going to have to work. Grant Williams is going to have to work. Payton Pritchard, Derek White, they're going to have to work on defense. But I think this would be a tough series. They got the 2 heavy wings that can guard. They have the defensive player of the year. But I trust the Warriors. I trust their 4 guys to get it done. So I go Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6. You said a lot of good stuff there, man. Very entertaining stuff also for that. I'll say this about the Celtics and the Warriors. First off, let's start about the Warriors because I have to give my due diligence to them. Absolutely. Congratulations to not only just you, Steph Curry, Dub Nation. Excellent season so far. A great postseason run, coming to the finals for the 6th time in 8 years, an impressive feat. It really takes a second to really marvel at LeBron going 8 times, 8 years in a row. But back to the Warriors. You guys have been playing excellent basketball, and I don't want to take that away from you guys. But I look at the talent that the Celtics have had to go against in this run compared to yours, and I just can't see how Golden State has faced anywhere near the competition that the Celtics have. You look at the defensive rating. They went against Milwaukee, the first team in defensive rating this season. They got past in this postseason, excuse me. They got past them. Number 3 in defensive rating, the Miami Heat. They got past them. The Nets were supposed to be this high-powered offense that was going to be too much for this defense to handle. Celtics handled that pretty swimmingly. A lot could be said that the Celtics were not favorites in many of those series. My good friend River Brown did not have them winning a single one of these. You could say that the Warriors' ride was easier for sure. You had to go against the Nuggets. You had to go against an injured Grizzlies team.
You go. Hold on.
Give it a sec. Let me finish, man.
I just don't like how you threw that in there. Like the Bucks were.
They were. But it was Middleton. It wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
John Morant, Middleton. There's a difference.
I mean, John Morant played.
He did, but he got hurt.
Played fair.
And this is no disrespect to the Warriors. They just had a little bit of an easier ride than the Celtics have. You guys have been amazing. Offensively, number 1 offensive rating this postseason. You mentioned it. This is one of the most complex offenses in NBA history. Forget about just right now. In NBA history, the way that you guys screen off balls, catch the ball off screens, pop and shoot, consistently tiring out defenses. You guys are a legit offense. However, you guys have not played a team like Miami or Milwaukee in this postseason run. And the Celtics got past both of them. I believe firmly the Celtics will be too much for you guys, and the Celtics will win this series.
Wow.
Miami.
Have you played a team like Miami in this postseason?
I don't think this may be a hot take. I don't think Dallas is like 3-4 spots lower than Miami.
Are they better than Miami? Is Dallas better than Milwaukee?
No.
Are any of the teams that the Golden State Warriors played this postseason run better than Milwaukee or Miami?
Defensively, no.
As a ball club?
No. But has Boston played an offense better than the Warriors?
I mean, like I said, the Warriors probably the best offense.
Wait, Drew, let me ask you this.
The playoffs right now.
Rev, hold up. Let me ask you this.
Do you think, bro? Nice shirt.
You weren't high. Thanks.
That is a nice shirt.
You weren't high on Miami all year long. Let's just say, in a hypothetical world, the Mavericks move on to the finals and the Heat move on to the finals. I'm pretty sure you would have picked Dallas. Am I wrong on that?
I would have picked Miami.
You would have picked
because they beat the team. They beat the team that I was highest on, and I would have had to give them their respect in that regard for sure. So I would have probably leaned Miami. Absolutely.
You know, can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure, buddy.
Why would you have taken Miami over the Dallas Mavericks? What do the Miami Heat do?
Defensively, they're a better team. Offensively, I can't disagree. That's the main reason why I was low on Miami, because their offensive output is just not up there with the elite teams in the NBA, especially with Tyler Hero going ghost come playoff time. They don't have that number 2 option to score. However, defensively, I felt like they would have been able to draw up a good scheme against the Dallas Mavericks, and the Dallas Mavericks are another team that don't have a consistent number 2 option either.
Has Miami not been a one-man show like Dallas, though?
For sure, but they have better role players than Dallas do.
And they have a better
coach.
That is
Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock,
an argument.
Brunson, Dinwiddie.
Oh, these guys
Miami has better role players.
These are players that have played above expectation. You know what? You got to give credit to the player because ultimately you have to do it.
Who's better, Kyle Lowry, Jalen Brunson right now?
Jalen Brunson.
Dinwiddie or Lowry right now?
Dinwiddie was disappointing.
How Dinwiddie has been playing?
Kyle Lowry's been hurt too. Yeah, Dwight Powell's.
What about Max Strus or Dorian Finney-Smith? Who are you taking?
Ooh, you put a good name. Dorian Finney is it. He's really good.
So I just named you Mavericks.
But Max Strus, PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker.
Easily.
The way Maxi Kleber played against the Suns, give me his ass.
But how about Maxi Kleber against the Warriors?
It's the Warriors. That's why I got the Warriors. It's the Warriors.
Okay.
That's the problem. It's the Warriors. But against the Miami Heat, I don't know, especially because we're not getting. It depends on what Bam we get into.
Now Bam defensively,
I like the Heat.
All right,
I talked about the Heat the last time I was here, but when I seen them in the playoffs, Kyle Lowry from round 1, I wasn't really feeling him. I think the Tyler Hero hype was a little too overbearing coming to playoffs. He's a very good player, extremely talented, but he's not one of those guys. And I think the 6th man of the year, the way he ran off with it, a lot of people expected some crazy input from him to change a series. I don't think Tyler Hero is at the level where he changes a series for you. He can help, but he's not like I don't look at that series like, oh my gosh, the Heat didn't have Tyler Hero last night. Like nobody's saying that. No. Obviously, he would have helped anytime you lose a player, a part of your rotation to help. But I didn't see one person on my timeline like, oh my gosh, imagine if they had Tyler Hero for Game 7. But we all know he's good, so it's no disrespect to him. But man, a Warrior, I cannot believe you just picked the Celtics over the Warriors.
It's what I understand that. No, exactly. My guys over here, they've been on the Warriors train the entire season. But the Celtics provide something that I just think that the Warriors are going to struggle with.
This is my question because you talked about everybody the Celtics play. This is my real question that I meant to get to at first. So we go over the fact that the Celtics had a brilliant Eastern Conference run. They did. They made Durant look the worst I've ever seen him in my entire life.
For sure.
The Bucks and Giannis, though they did fight hard and Giannis played the best as he could, he didn't shoot the ball fairly well. He not look like the most dominant guy since Shaq. And then the Miami Heat, who offenses look terrible since the playoffs have started. What do you see with the Warriors that can be that can be used to an advantage? Because when you look at the Nets, right, the surrounding pieces outside of KD and Kyrie made it a lot easier, not to take away from the Celtics, but it made it a lot. You're not guarding Drummond. You're not guarding Claxton. You'll let Bruce Brown shoot however many threes. Blake Griffin, you're not really worried about. They just didn't have the surrounding pieces. I know it's easy to laugh at the Nets because Kyrie left the Celtics and Durant left the Warriors. Now they're in the finals, and me and people like Riv were picking them, and it's how they got swept. But they played extremely close to them in every single game. They had a bunch of chances to win a couple of games, and I truly think with a right offseason and the right pieces around them, they'll be right back, and nobody will really care that they got swept.
For sure.
Second round, you go against the Bucks, who, as much respect I want to give them, they were the reigning champions. They are one of the most easiest teams to scheme against because the game plan is for Giannis to drive, and if he doesn't have it, he can kick. The Celtics have the recipe to front line that with Horford, Grant Williams, and Robert Williams with the length of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Miami Heat, there's no perimeter threats. There's really no offensive threats outside of Jimmy Butler. So now when we get to the Warriors, what can they exploit with the Warriors system? The fact that you have Steph Curry, Draymond Green can initiate offense, is constant moving. Jordan Poole is a firecracker. Andrew Wiggins can give you 25 in a game. Kevon Looney and him are tied for the most offensive rebounds in the entire playoff. They got like 46 offensive rebounds apiece in the 14 games that they've played. That's second chance points right there. Do you have guys like Otto Porter, GP the second? What can you exploit if you're Boston against the Golden State Warriors? I'm dying to know.
I'm assuming that I'm the only guy choosing the Celtics here, so this question is 100% for me. I look at the Celtics and their offense this far. It's been, to a degree, disappointing. Against the Nets, they really couldn't get a consistent offense going, but their guys hit big shots. Their role players hit big shots when they needed them to.
Yes.
Against Milwaukee, very similarly. They really did not have a consistent offense. However, their role players were very consistent in hitting jump shots. Al Horford was absolutely huge for them. Round 3 against Miami Heat, same thing. They did not have a cohesive offense, but they're still able to get past because of one thing, and it's been their main thing I shouldn't say the entire season, since the All-Star break, that defense of theirs. Against the Warriors, who their defensive unit is still really, really good. So long as you have Draymond Green, that defensive unit is going to be very cohesive. It's going to be very sound. But I'm expecting Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the rest of these role players, Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, Al Horford, to hit the big shots regardless, because they are going to the Golden State Warriors defense is not the Miami Heat. It's not the Milwaukee Bucks. It's not, regardless of what you want to say.
First in defensive rating in the regular season. The Warriors.
They were not. They were number 2.
They were first.
They were number 2.
They were first.
I'm pretty sure the Celtics were 1. You could be right. But this postseason, they have not been. They have not been. I believe they're the 6th defensive rated team. That doesn't mean anything because their offense is so great. However, I do trust the Boston Celtics defense. Their perimeter defense specifically. Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. Derek White is very good defensively. Grant Williams is very good defensively. And don't get me started on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They have the defense on the perimeter to play against the Warriors, and I feel as if that is why I'm feeling the Celtics here.
So right now, looking at the regular season rankings, defensive rating, okay, Celtics number 1, 106.2, Warriors 106.6. So the Warriors don't have a Miami Heat level defense, Bucks level defense.
This postseason, they have not been on their level.
See, now this is the gripe I have with that statement that you made. This postseason, because the playoffs are such a small sample size. The Boston Celtics played the Milwaukee Bucks when the Milwaukee Bucks had the first defensive rating in the playoffs. They played the Chicago Bulls. Are we serious? We're using the Chicago Bulls as a measuring stick to how great a team is defensively.
Milwauke's still a good defensive unit.
You know what? I don't know if I'm gonna.
No, but is that not correct though?
Yeah, but yeah, right.
So you're saying the almighty great defensive Bucks in the playoffs. Oh, it's because they did this to the Bulls.
This is how you want to misconstrue that.
No, I mean that's the team they played. 5-game sample size.
Miami Heat also.
It's a 5-game sample size. So you're going to use that 5-game sample size over the entirety of the regular season, where the Bucks were an average defense. The Bucks were an average defense in the regular season.
How about the way that they played against the Celtics?
They were good defensively, but
they were really good.
I remember Jason Tatum after Game 4, was it? No, Game 3. Game 4, Game 5, Game 6, 30 points, 40 points.
It's Jason Tatum.
But then again,
it's Jason Tatum.
An elite defense doesn't allow. Miami has an elite defense. They didn't allow Tatum to go off for 40 once in this series.
He had 30 clean,
but he didn't have 40.
I mean, wow, that's a real feat.
But I'm saying versus Milwaukee, he was able to go for 3 straight 30-plus point games.
Again, like I said, played against Miami and
so
Milwaukee.
You think the Milwaukee
defenses.
Bucks this postseason defense is better than the Warriors?
There's a real strong reason why you're singling out Milwaukee.
No, because I just want you to back up that point.
I don't think the Warriors. I think the Warriors are a little bit better defense than Miami, but
I
do think.
Wow.
Not to mention. Let's not even mention. Warriors were second in defensive rating, only 0.4 spots below the Boston Celtics. When Draymond missed how much? At least a third of the season, right?
Yeah.
At least a third of the season. Klay Thompson came back Christmas.
Really hasn't been on
with
that
Draymond
level
with Draymond Green.
Since the playoffs
with
started.
Draymond Green, the Warriors are by far the best defense in the NBA.
We have to give the Warriors some credit for what they did against the Dallas Mavericks. It's just like,
and it's funny because people been doing this for like a couple of days, but I've been swimming in the fact that Steph has that WCF trophy. But I've been noticing and I've been peeping that people when the Warriors played Denver, and we all understood at this table that Denver was going to be a cakewalk. The media, Warriors in 6, Warriors in 7, the Joker this, the Joker that. Okay, the Warriors washed them, right? Then they go play Memphis, right? Some people picked Memphis. Some people said this was going to be a hard series. Okay, John Morant, he missed the last 3 games. The first 3 games they played, they go up 2-1. They beat Ja by 40 points. 40 points. Then the next game, they lose by 40 to a team without Ja. And then the next 2 games was pretty much Warriors. Then they go play Dallas. And people were like, matter of fact, the Ringer had Dallas making the finals at a higher percentage than the Warriors. Dallas just beat the Suns. And
Warriors in 5, man.
The Warriors just made them look like they didn't belong in the
Correct.
Western Conference Finals. So I don't like how just because the Warriors made these teams look smaller than what they were, it's like, nah, the run was easy. I don't think so. I mean, Miami's run wasn't strong. They played Atlanta. They played Philly. Joel Embiid missed 2 games.
I'm with you there.
So that run doesn't seem too strong to me.
But let's talk about the Celtics that are ultimately in the finals.
The Celtics had a great run.
The Celtics feel like they should win. They feel great. I think this is one of the greatest in-season turnarounds in NBA history. They're making the finals. Tatum is in that stage where a championship could definitely catapult him. And it feels like it's Tatum and Brown's time to prove everybody wrong for all the shit that people talked about them being potentially split up. But that being said, I don't like the argument that the Warriors have had this easier path. The Memphis Grizzlies are a better team than the Brooklyn Nets. I was sitting front row when the Grizzlies clipped them.
First round matchup.
Wait, but who's a better Nuggets or Nets? Who's a better team? If we're being serious, just
the Nets.
You think it by far?
The Nets.
You think by far with Joker?
The Nets.
Nikola Jokic single-handedly, I think, could take the Nets to 7 if they were to play in a series.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Nuggets just in the presence, like in the present sense of when we last seen them. Because I think the Brooklyn Nets we want them to be better. We like all NBA people, fans, we want them to be much better than what the hell they are. That surrounding the pieces between Kyrie and Kevin Durant is atrocious. Like it is.
But Denver don't got defense.
My problem,
Pierre, and I want to ask Pierre this. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. But at what point do we not say that it was the Nets folding and we credit the Celtics defense?
Oh, it's definitely a little bit of both. You got to give credit to the Celtics. I wouldn't take anything away from the Celtics, but also when you look at how the Nets competed in every game and just like a shot away from this game, Jason Tatum spin around layup winning that game.
For sure.
It wasn't how people made it seem. They swept them. You got to give the Celtics credit. But usually when it's a sweep, it feels like, oh man, they just had no chance. They just stumped them. And the way that it's talked about, it's a lot higher and bigger than what it really was. Like if I didn't know basketball, I would have thought that the Celtics crushed the Nets and there was no way that the Nets had any chance. And I think more of it is because people like to clown the stars like Kyrie and KD, because Kyrie does weird stuff and KD is so like reactive on Twitter and whatever. But I think the emphasis is really that KD struggled in a way we've never seen him. So it amplified it a little bit more. But when we watch the games and you really go back and look, it wasn't how it was presented to be, if we being honest. And then in Milwaukee, I really do think that the series is different if Chris Middleton is healthy. That's just me.
Not different. It's Milwaukee is in the finals right now. I don't think it's any. No offense to the Celtics, but
I don't hear many people saying, and I don't like to just scream from a mountaintop that, because I don't want to sound like a Celtic hater because I bigged them up all year. But I mean, it's just a reality. Like Chris Middleton, I can't believe that the Bucks went that far without Chris Middleton because of the Celtics defense that is so brilliant. I cannot believe
it's Giannis. That it
Come on. They were able to hold Giannis to the first ever player to have 500 points, 200 assists, and 200 rebounds in the playoff run, right?
We're talking about the best player in the NBA.
Which that's why I don't, you know what I'm saying? I picked the Bucks, so I don't bring up the injury ever. Like, they won, but we can't ignore the obvious.
But we also saw Golden State. Luka had his worst series to date against the Warriors. So we're not crediting their defense for Luka struggling and not being Michael Jordan level great in that series. Like, that's what he's been to this point.
And y'all was letting Jimmy put 40 on y'all and winning games.
You know, this is ultimately why the Warriors are going to win in 6. The Celtics are a feel-good team. They're a feel-good story. And, you know, if you've known me for the past couple of years, me vouching for the Warriors, this is uncommon. This is totally Uncharted out of territory. My comfort zone. But the truth about the Celtics is that, okay, yes, on paper, they face the tougher teams. But the way they beat each team outside of the Nets, to me, was not very impressive. Milwaukee, they blew, I believe, Game 5, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those. They blew Game 6, you're right.
Yeah, at home.
I feel like there are times where Tatum just doesn't show up. And we saw it in Milwaukee series in Game 3. Yes, he showed up 3 games after that. But like Jimmy Butler said, although Butler showed up for Game 7 and Game 6, he said if I would have showed up for Game 5, Game 4, we would win. Tatum has to show up for every single game this series versus the Heat. There was not one moment for the most of the series that I said Tatum's a better player than Jimmy Butler. I really didn't say that. I think Jimmy Butler outplayed Jason Tatum in that series. You look at Game 6. They were up by 15-plus points at halftime, I believe, or it was near the second quarter. Celtics let them come back in that game on Jimmy Butler's coattails. He's the one that brings them back. They're up 13 points with 3.5 minutes left yesterday in Game 7, and the Heat go on an 11-0 run. And if Jimmy Butler hits that transition 3, the Miami Heat are in the NBA championship right now. They are in the finals right now if he hits that 3. He didn't hit it. Now Celtics are in the finals, but there are just too many times the Celtics go cold. The shot diet is poor. The defense is always going to be there. But Jason Tatum there are games where he doesn't perform. He doesn't go off for 25 plus, which that's what his average is. He's supposed to go for that every single night. And I just feel like versus a team like the Warriors that's super experienced, that's going to hurt Boston. I think they're too inexperienced. And the Warriors have shown you, it doesn't matter if they play bad for 46 minutes. If you are not focused for those last 2, they'll beat you. And they did that against Memphis. I think the Warriors are going to win in 6. Even though the Celtics are great defensively, I think they're better defensively against isocentric offenses like the Nets, like Miami. That Miami was able to, they really only had Jimmy Butler and Giannis. That's an isocentric offense. He's just going to drive and kick. They're better against those offenses because all they do is switch. Versus the Warriors, they're going to have to be much better in communicating who's going to get who. And ultimately, if Steph Curry is and wants to be a finals MVP for the first time, he has to be all-time great. And I think Curry can be that, but it's really on Curry to really show up and perform for all these games.
Yeah. And they haven't played an offense like this. All those teams we named, they have not played anything. As much as Drew is saying the Warriors haven't played a Celtic type defense, which you're right. They haven't played a Warriors type offense. You know what I mean? And I really do hang it on what Joel said. The experience, man. They're built for this. That's why I don't even like the defensive rating. That shit can go in the garbage. I'm going off what I see and the way they handle Luka. Full court pressure, 3-2 zone, box at 1. You can't prepare for that because you don't even know what the hell you about to see. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't. And that comes from experience. It's nothing that this Warriors team hasn't seen, bro. This is 6 out of 8. They've seen a LeBron type heliocentric offense. They've seen teams try to hunt Curry. Him and, LeBron and Kyrie was really trying to hunt Curry in those finals. They've seen James Harden isolation or 5 out. They've seen trying to be aggressive with Curry. They have literally seen every single thing versus the Celtics, who are this is their first time here, first time head coach. They deserve all of their flowers. This has been magnificent. I think they have a bright future, and I think there's parallels. Tatum is the face. Curry's the face. You have the Robins, the number 2s that complement them so well and sometimes come and save the day. Game 6 Clay. We've had plenty of games where Jaylen Brown has stepped up in the absence of Tatum. And then you have the 3 guys who's the heart and soul, the pit bull, Marcus Smart, Draymond. I'll get the tech. I'll fight you if you do something to Tatum. I'll fight you if you do something to Clay. Then you have the former player head coach who came and made the proper adjustments to get the instant success in Udoa and Steve Kerr. So there are some parallels there, and I like that for the finals. But I do agree. I think the Celtics just feel good. Everybody likes them. They got good, likable guys. And it's new. It's like a new era with them being a top dog because it felt like Bucks, Nets, if everything is right, Sixers because they got Harden, and then out of nowhere it's like the Celtics. I mean, even the Heat, and then you got the Celtics just came out of nowhere. So it feels good, but the Warriors are the Warriors. They've been here six out of 8 for a reason, and it just feels like their moment. It feels like Steph is going to solidify himself as a top 10 player, which is a topic we're going to get to. It feels like, they got a point to prove to win without KD. And then, to usher in this new team with the youngins. The Warriors excite me, man. The Warriors,
P, you got some shit. Warriors in 5 or 6 or 7.
I'm gonna go 6 to be respectful, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking 5. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
I said 5 for the Mavericks.
No respect
and
for what
people
the
thought I
Celtics
was,
are about.
Maverick fans thought I was being disrespectful, but they got the recipe, man.
Before we go on to the next topic, just to say this. The Warriors had a defensive rating 104.2 with Draymond this season, 46-game sample size. So that's 2 points higher, 2 points lower than the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics, after the All-Star break, which is when they made their magnificent turnaround, they had a defense rating of 111.1. So the Warriors have the real DPOI in Draymond. Draymond's the best defensive player in the NBA.
I'm with you there.
But I before we move on, I just want to get your take on this, Drew, because there's not somewhere a little bit in you where you are disappointed in the Celtics.
In what way?
Because
facts.
In our predictions, you picked the Celtics over the Nets. Riv and I picked the Nets. Of course, we were wrong about that. But versus Milwaukee, you said Celtics in 5. They go 7. Versus the Heat, you said Celtics in 5. They go 7. So in your mind, you expected the Celtics to finish off these series sooner than when they finished off, and you could argue they should have done it. That doesn't concern you a little bit? You're not slightly disappointed in that?
That's a great question. Against Milwaukee, no, because there was times where the lack of being in those type of moments, I should say, showed for the Celtics, and that championship experience from Milwaukee really shined through in some games, and they were able to capitalize in the end of those games. But for Miami, yes, there's a little bit of disappointment where I thought that this would be a little bit easier. I wasn't expecting Jimmy Butler to go out in Game 3 and the Celtics not be able to close that out and allow Bam Adebayo to be the offensive force that he was.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I'm with you. There's some slight disappointment to what I was expecting. Against Milwaukee, not so much. Yes, I believe that they easily could have won that one in 5. But the championship experience of Milwaukee showed. But against Miami, that's where, yes, I will be really honest. A slight disappointment in certain games. But ultimately, the job was done. In that moment, they're on to the finals. The grand scheme of things, the job's not done. And I think that they do so in 7.
And that's just what worries me about Golden State, is that I feel like they should have beat Milwaukee in 6. I feel like they should have definitely beat Miami in 6 at TD Garden at Game 6. And You're right, Game 3 without Jimmy Butler for the entire game, Bam Adebayo beats you.
For sure.
They can't play like that against Golden State.
One thing, though, you got to give the Celtics credit for, Game 7 in Miami, to come away with that win. Even though I know the Celtics were the better team, to still do so is impressive.
You picked Boston in 7.
Against you guys, yeah.
So you think Boston...
They have the home court advantage because they were the 2 seed.
No, Warriors have a better record.
The Warriors have not lost a game at home this year. You think Boston is going to go into Chase?
Listen, it's going to come down to your boy if he's clutch or not.
I don't have just
I've been
one
to
boy.
Chase. It ain't happening.
I don't have just one boy. There's 4 boys.
There's
5 boys up there.
Now this,
there's
even though you're a Steph Curry
there's
guy.
There's Poole. There's Clay. There's Wiggs. There's Dre. Respect them. There's 5.
Listen, if your boy Steph comes to play that Game 7, which he could,
He'll definitely come and show up for Game 6.
This is
that's Clay.
This is the problem here that we're having. Steph, even if he doesn't show up, which he will, of course. Look at the team. Look at the team, bro. Look at the team.
You need Steph to be Steph.
Look at you. The lesson. I'm gonna Pee-wee's here. The less and more theory. That's what it's called. The less is more theory.
Correct.
Yep.
That's a good theory. It's actually a really strong theory, but it's only a strong theory against teams that are not as good as that team or better. Against this Warriors team, the less is more theory is cool, but when the Warriors are more is more, it completely debunks that.
But how are the Celtics less, in your opinion?
You guys have 2 scorers. No offense. Marcus Smart, nobody's really worried about him offense.
I'm
sorry. Rob Williams, I watched him play. He's
not an offensive player. He's a defensive guy.
Threats, defensive guy. Grant Williams, if he's not open, he's not a threat. Payton Pritchard's a good, solid player. Derek White is okay, but the Warriors have they have Steph, Clay, Poole, Wiggins. Wiggins can exploit mismatches all day. Payton Pritchard, Derek White, they're too small. Jordan Poole
has been really good. I need to see it in the finals.
Jordan Poole's going to feast on your bigs. He's too quick. He's too fast. He's too twitchy.
You're saying Poole?
Yes.
Derek White, Marcus Smart.
Wait, what's the difference between Wiggins, though? I mean, there's nobody.
I need to see it in the finals.
But there's nobody on the Celtics that has been in the finals before.
Agreed.
Agreed.
What you mean by that?
The Warriors ain't gonna guard some of them dudes too. Like Derek White, like the Warriors. I mean,
I just say this:
Derek White shows that you leave him open, he will knock down shots.
Man, that motherfucker did that one game.
Nah, stop it. He was pretty consistent. He was consistent.
I mean, for him to be a professional, he irked the hell out of me. As scary as he looked scary in some of those moments against the Heat. And that's just me. I like the guy. He's a very good player. But you can't be scared in some of these moments. And I'm just glad he took those shots. And I give you credit, Drew. You have the Celtics. You're standing on it against 3 people who have the Warriors. I respect it.
You win,
I really, really
you'll be a
do.
legend.
You'll be a legend if you win.
Honest to God, you'll be a legend.
I feel pretty
confident about it,
The Warriors
threw 8 defensive schemes against Luka in the first round. He didn't know what to do. This is Luka. He was playing ball since 9 years old.
It's not he didn't know what to do. It's not just Tatum. Jaylen Brown, you got to worry about that man.
You can't dribble. I'm good with that.
He's the greatest non-dribbler in NBA history.
Gary Payton's okay. You know what?
Jaylen, throw some respect on him. Just because he can't he's not the best by any means.
Plucking him every time you put the ball.
He still averages at least 20 every game. Don't play with his name.
I'm good. I'm fine with it, bro.
Don't do that. Don't. I've been telling you all season. Don't play with Jaylen Brown's name.